Haoxuan, and then I hope that, I don't know if she's already there, maybe can connect online, maybe. We still don't know. Okay.
I think there is only Enzo, but maybe we can text her to make sure that she will be online.
So I will send again a reminder. So first presenter is Anna Golnerits. Title is changed. So okay, up to you, please.
So thank you. I will stand if you don't mind, because I try to compensate my hate and everything. So good morning, everyone. I am Anna Golnerits, first year student in the joint PhD program located in Pécs. My supervisor is Sarrica, and we are currently working on investigating the interaction, the social representation of crisis in general, and the active communities or any kind of communities. Okay, so why am I still talking about the ecological crisis when I'm investigating the crisis in general? Just because it's one of the most biggest and globally most effective crisis we are facing, and it's really, really prolonging. And so let me use it now as a context. And for me, it's also important to point at ecological crisis because it illustrates the dysfunctionalities of the broader economic system and the positionality of the different social groups. So for me, it's really important that through research, little bit change the positionality and the importance of the contributing communities in this discussion, because the discussion is mostly dominated by the Anthropocene narrative. So maybe we can be more critical and shift from the individual perspective to a more collective one. So the other issue is why I'm talking about communities, because when facing the crisis or any kind of difficulty, we're mostly left alone with our own feelings, or they are much more represented in research, and maybe we can make a change in this cultural attitude. But researches show that these kind of alternatives or changes in the culture can be made during the preparation for a crisis and not at the time of crisis, because they're more rigid and automated action patterns and are activated. Many research has already shown us that community engagement is really effective in facing, for example, disasters. So this is where my interest is. Also, mostly focusing on trade unions and solidarity economy entrepreneurs. From the social representation approach, I would highlight relationality between the social objects and the relationality between the social object, the subjects and the objects which are present in the dialogues. For me, it's also important how our representations are really embedded in identity and the positionality of our social groups. And let me give you some little examples which kind of themata are underlying discourse by framing the ecological crisis for example, this individual and collective dichotomy or tension, and also that we try to navigate different perceptions of realities, which is the phenomenon of cognitive polyphagia. So in my first study, I am investigating if the activation of a community identity can modify the representation or make any changes in the representation of crisis, or on the other way around, if the subject is in the context of crisis, can it activate different kind of community identity? So I use a mixed methodological questionnaire, combined qualitative and quantitative measurements. We use two kind of conditions in our questionnaire. In the first one, first questions came regarding community identity, and then questions about the representation of crisis. And in the other condition, we first activated the representation of crisis, and then the community identity. So since my previous presentation, a little bit enlarged the data, but still it is it includes three localities: Hungarian, Ecuadorian, and Indian sample, and my participants are mostly under 34 years old, which are quite young. First, we made a factor analysis on the emotions related to the crisis, and we got three factors: positive, negative, uncontrolled, and controlled emotions. And the positive ones are mostly connected to the crisis when the community identity is activated. So what I did in the last few months and weeks, I was also made a bottom-up categorization of the emotion of the categories in the communities the participants listed or they mentioned, to which they connect more, and the most common ones connected to the intimate circle. In this category, I put those who name their family or friends, and any kind of connection. It's a little bit general category, but I mean by this more like physically contact. For example, university community or workplace, which we don't know are permanent or temporarily. So yes. Here I want to highlight that there was no differentiation or difference if the crisis was asked first. So there was no difference in the activated community identity. And this was matched with the fact that it was a consistency in the named community identity and the emotions connected to the communities, which mean that these two are really so the emotions connected to the community is really embedded in so they're together generate a combined representation. In the unity of the different categories, there was not much difference. Which I want to highlight is the difference was more between the most common group, like the intimate circle, and between those who don't have any kind of community. So this is the most important part here. And here I also illustrate that how they, if they prefer the community management strategy in time of crisis, it's also not really different between the categories. It can more be seen between if they have a group or they are alone. So these are the results of the hierarchical cluster analysis, where I found 5 classes. The 2 ones in the middle, I don't know if it can be seen. They are more connected to emotions and how they connected with individual management strategy. The one in the left, it's more focused on systemic point of view, and the 2 ones on the right are more referred to management strategy. And what I want to really highlight is where the community identity belongs to the different classes. Like the one in the middle, it is more likely for the Asian sample. We're more focused on the conflictual part and the urgency of the crisis, and they don't deal with individual action. But I want to also show the contrast between the 2 classes on the right. In the one which I named powerlessness, it is full of negative emotions, and it's mostly associated with those who don't have any kind of community. While just on the right, we can see a little confusion of the associations, but there is also a community activated, which is the community connected to any kind of local connections. So now I just want to conclude my findings. The first one is it is really important that in a time of crisis we really activate our already existing and stable representations. So if we want to make any kind of change, cultural or power related change, we can make it in the preparation phase. Like when we are referring to the ecological crisis, this, if you put it in a temporal line, we are in the preparation phase still. Well, it can be argued. Also, it is really important to connect to any kind of community when a crisis comes, but even though it gives individuals positive feelings to bond, not all of the communities are capable or the agents of change. So in my further researches, I want to focus on those who are able to make changes. And in my upcoming researches, I also want to deepen in local context and national context maybe, and I want to invite new participants in this questionnaire study. And yeah, thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. I have a lot of questions. But yeah, this is because I find it interesting, so it's a positive remark. But maybe it would be, because the term community, I mean, it's highly debated what we understand by this, what is a community. And maybe it would be good if you can explain a little bit how you use that, both on a conceptual level and both empirically. And then I also have a question about this, I would say, the social psychological processes which underline the idea that belonging to a community may have to face the crisis. I was thinking about this really beautiful, I say beautiful because it makes me a little bit optimistic about the way we cope with the climate change crisis. Work by Milifon and collaborators who show that because in New Zealand they have successfully coped with the COVID crisis, not a lot of people were dying from it there. They could show with kind of big surveys which are conducted each year that they have the feeling, because they are in a community which cope with the problem, they have an improved perceived efficacy beliefs, and therefore they feel that they will be able to cope with other type of crises, like the ecological crisis, and so they agree with a lot of pro-ecological behaviors, collective pro-ecological behaviors, etc. So I was interested in how do you explain this link between community and coping with the crisis on a theoretical level. And finally, I just have another question or remark. The cluster analysis you have presented, there are only 70% of the text segment which were classified. Did you try to find another better solution? And yeah, maybe explain a little bit. And it was also not so clear for me which are the data you used for this.
Okay, thank you for the questions. Yeah, I ran through a little bit on the measurement method because I didn't know if I will have time to explain it, and yeah, I thought maybe you will ask about it. On the conceptual level, I find it a cultural question, that which is the dominant cultural pattern. Like I mostly concentrate on action patterns of the social representations. So a lot of them we do automatically, and we don't really reflect on that how much we cope individually with our problems. So that's why it was also an intervention to make the participants salient with their community identity, maybe. When categorizing the community identities, there was also clarification question about why they choose this community. So it a little bit helped me to interpret their answers. So it was an open-ended question. We asked them to say what community you belong to. And they said, my family. I don't understand the question. I'm alone. I connect to my local community. It's also, I didn't really reflect on that, but yeah, most of the answers were referred to intimate circles or valueless circles. I mean, there is no such thing that valueless, but they don't really reflect on values, like they barely mentioned or not really mentioned any kind of activist groups. So yeah, I need to deepen more in this.
It's also a result, I mean, or a finding, because if people do not identify to a community, of course, it's difficult to face surprises. You know what I mean? So maybe it's also the problem of society that we do not have this feeling anymore that we belong to a community. I don't know.
Yes, totally. I have this feeling that they don't really associate these two, but I hope if their answer was their family is a community, that somehow they believe it. Even though it was for a lot of people it was strange. Like that's the problem of questionnaires, that I don't see the reaction of my participants. But when I was present, most of them, they asked, "But what do you mean by community?" So maybe we should make also more qualitative analysis on this, because it's not really clear.
If I may add on this comment, President Sabine, I think this is already an interesting result, which really somehow lead you to go back really to the classics of community psychology, but also of sociological studies now, because as if we have an assumption, first of all, that communities are still relevant. So here it has also to I don't know, I mean, you can take several directions, but how social media, how the platform society has changed our conception of what connections are, what friends are. So you go in that direction. So what makes a community? This is the assumption that we have that the community is a resource, which is from the theoreticized by several authors. And also, I think the idea of crisis has to do with a understanding of change. Crisis as a resource, crisis as a disruption. So I think that now you have really a first sketch, but if you go back to the literature, this could help also to refine the interpretation and think about the next in-depth analysis. Other comments, suggestions? No? Okay, so thank you. And now we have the line.
Please, presentation.
Okay, Augusta, hi. I don't know who you are seeing, but
Can you hear us?
can you hear us? Can you hear? No? Try from there.
Our mic is working.
Hi. Ciao. Can you hear us? Yes, okay. You can hear us, and now we are trying to hear you.
Can you please speak?
Okay. louder.
I don't know how to make louder. I got the maps over here.
Okay, so maybe you have to shout so that we can hear you.
Can you continue to speak a little bit, please, just to have like the best sound we can get?
Very far away. Try to put it here and we can just...
I think the input is here.
Okay, now the output.
And the output,
Where is the
it's
output?
coming from...
Try to put the output from the computer and we just... wait a second. No, interphone. Try again.
André, est-ce que tu pourrais nous donner un petit coup de main?
Try again, please. No, it's very feeble. Almost, not so well. No.
La basse
Non,
au
non.
max, c'est... T'as dit quoi? Le premier là?
Encore?
Can you please speak a little bit, just to see if...
No, it's still the same.
J'ai pas passé sur le premier. Ça n'a pas changé.
Là, on est sur le premier, là. Là, on est sur le premier.
Regarde Zoom, oui. C'est le son, c'est Zoom que tu donnes. L'option audio, à gauche, à gauche. Voilà.
Celui-ci?
Essaye.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, okay, at least from here. Try to say something.
Okay. Still nothing?
We can hear you.
Ça sort de l'ordinateur. Essaye les autres.
Again.
Nothing yet.
Okay, but if she speaks here, we can.
Can you speak?
Okay, can you hear me now?
No, not really. But it's not your problem, huh? It's... Okay, try this again. Blah 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 blah.
Hello.
Hello, now you are here. Okay.
Ma se no, se si
Try-
mette
try
col
to-
microfono...
Try to say again hello.
Hello.
Okay, I think.
Hi.
Maybe that's the best we can get, and it's not perfect, but as I'm not a technician, I will do
No,
that
no,
the
no.
best
Okay,
we can
okay. We can hear you a bit.
get. You have to be
Okay,
like
maybe I
speaking
have
very
to
loud.
shout. Should I shout?
If you can-
Yes. If you shout, we will hear you. Okay. So maybe we have a presentation. Sorry, where is the title was yesterday. So you can share the screen, and we will also consider your presentation on the intercultural journey of Nigerian refugees in Italy. So.
Okay. Hello everyone. So my name is Chukwudumebi Augusta Ibosiva, and my research is focused on the intercultural journey of Nigerian refugees in Italy. And my research actually is an interplay of social representation and positioning theory in my research. So I use this theory in order to unravel the migratory experiences of Nigerian refugees in Italy. And my study explores how identity, culture, belonging, and social integration are shaped and negotiated in the everyday lives of Nigerian refugees in Italy. And of course, with the research questions, it is centered on identity and culture. So I examined how their experiences shaped them and how they have been able to negotiate their identity through their experiences in Italy. And of course, there are also other key factors that was factored in my research, which is religion and gender. And the reason why religion is very big in my research is because religion is actually a general importance in our society as Nigerians in general. So it is expected for it to be a part of our lives and a part of our experiences and in Italy, especially in regards to the fact that our experiences are a lot focused on faith-based experiences. It is very typical for maybe a migrant from Nigeria should just come to Italy, and the first advice you're going to get as from other Nigerians that the fact that you have to register or try to be a part of a church or a faith-based community, just to identify yourself there and to be part of the community. This was also spotted in the theoretical part of my research, and also gender. In the theoretical part of my research, gender plays an important role as well in my research in regards to the fact that Nigerian refugees in Italy are mainly male-dominated. And this can also be viewed in my data because most of the data that I collected are mostly from male gender. And of course, with my research, I focused on episodic interview because with episodic interview, it captures a lot on the relevant experiences of Nigerian migrants in Italy. So in order to just get their comprehensive experiences and code from there. So I was able to get, I conducted 30 episodic interviews with Nigerian refugees, male and female, and 10 episodic interviews as well with institutional stakeholders, which are key players. So the number one model that I use to analyze my data is the Slocum-Bradley positioning grid. And in this is the rights, duties, and identity and social forces. So with the relevant statements in their interview, I was able to identify the rights and the duties and the identity and social forces. But with the right, it captures more on the power to speak and be heard, to take action. With the duties, the responsibility towards others and the society, as well as self-definition through roles, labels, and the social forces, with the wider pressures shaping discourse and action. So the second model that I used in order to analyze my data was the very approximation model. And with this, has 4 adaptive strategies. And the first one is integration, assimilation, separation, and marginality. So with their experiences, I was able to derive this part of the data. With the integration, I was able to understand which of the participants were able to keep their original culture while participating in a new one. I think this is common knowledge for whoever is transiting or moving to another country. So this is a very key model in order to be able to identify the number of people that were able to integrate in the society by, of course, by the adaptive strategy, which is integration, the one that were able to keep the original culture while participating in a new one, and also separation, which of the the numbers of the refugees that were able to have a separation adaptive model, which is the ones that will be able to hold on to their original culture, which is Nigeria, and the Nigerian culture, and avoiding involvement with the new one as well, which is the Italian culture. And with the assimilation, those that give up their original culture in order to adopt to the new culture, which is Italy. And with the marginality, those that didn't even feel connected or in touch with both the Nigerian culture and the Italian culture while they moved. So with the data that was gathered, I was able to identify this in the data. So the summary of the data using Stockholm branding model reveals how Nigerian refugees position themselves. So you could see in this summing up with the 30 episodic interview, with this you could see the successful storylines shows that 14 participants out of the 30 participants identified success in their story. So they feel they're in a good place and they're positive and their experience as refugees in Italy has been positive. So analyzing their identities, you could see some of them fell into the empowered survivors, creatives, contributors, and community voices, and with their rights to be respected, accepted, integrated, and all that. Then with the duties to give back to the community to uphold family dignity and all that, and to inspire others. Then with the social forces, you will see to resist stereotypes. Actually, with the successful storylines, with the refugees that identify themselves as successful with their transition, a lot of them fell into the gap of giving back. Some of them that were empowered through faith-based community like churches and other NGOs and all that, they also position themselves to also give back to society. So you can see some of them ended up being activists, and some of them ended up being church leaders and youth leaders and all that, and that fell into the empowerment line. So out of the 30, 10 identified unsuccessful storylines. So 10 of them, they position themselves in the fact that they're not successful. This journey that they made to Italy has been has been negative for them. Maybe so some of them feel it wasn't maybe what they expected and what they pictured it was going to be. So in that regard, they had a lot of emotional burdens. So you can see with the identity, they fell in the area of emotional burdens and invisibility and neglect. Why? Because they had so much expectations. So with this, it was a very tough mental thing for them to be. So as a result, they feel stuck. And due to this, they didn't adapt well, even over the years till now. So till the time I interviewed them, so I don't know. So with the rights, of course, their right was the demand to feel protected, to be heard, and to be emotionally, materially supported. Then with the duties, it was, of course, it was limited. They were focused more on self-preservation and survival, not necessarily. You could see with the successful storyline, they focused, most of them focused on giving back and trying to also help and empower others that were in they find themselves in their shoes on new arrivals. But with them, they actually just focus on themselves, just to survive and just to get through the day or months and whatnot. So of course, with the social forces, what was identified was to seek recognition. At this point, they don't even seek, they don't want to be pitied. They just want to be recognized and they just want visibility. Then the third storyline is the ambivalent and hybrid storyline. So 6 out of the 30 participants find themselves in a situation of being stuck. So they find themselves in the midst of hope and despair. So with this storyline, you see the negotiators and they don't have really multiple realities and roles with the rights, co-conditional inclusion, partial access, with the duties, duties to family and children and all that. So some of these people with the ambivalent storylines, they feel more of they don't think you can't they couldn't identify, oh okay, I'm successful or I'm not. understand? They don't find themselves in the middle, and most of them are actually burdened. And this is the area whereby remittances come into play. Most of the people that fell into this ambivalent storyline are people that have family abroad, back home in Nigeria, and they have to work and spend money. People that have financial burdens. So with this, and due to the fact that they also don't have emotional support in regards to the fact that their family is back home, and then their families are back home, and they have to send money and they have to take care of it, and also they don't have anyone here catering for their mental and emotional needs. So as a result, they can't really identify once is this a good transition, is this not a good transition, they just find themselves in between. Sorry, can you still hear me?
Yes, yes.
Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So with the key themes from the analysis, there was 14 key themes were identified, which is the journey, mobility, marriage, housing, education, employment, trauma, stereotypes, social networks, cultural identity, religion, gender struggles, in-group and out-group dynamics, and remittances. So with the table of Berry's model summary, so you can see in the journey, when I talk about the journey signifies their journey from Libya to Italy, or how it has been from Libya to Italy, as well as their experience in the reception camp. And you could see that 10 of the participants were using the Berry's model. They spoke on integration and separation. These were mostly the paths in which they fell. They fell in between both integration and separation, which is some of them were able to adapt, of course, by not incorporating the lifestyle of Italian. So of course, this is normal in regards to the fact that this is the initial arrival in Italy. Of course, I think it's okay for them to have these experiences in their first their initial arrival. So with the mobility, and the mobility means those people. There were a lot of the interviews that I did. There were a lot of the refugees that, of course, some of them probably came in from probably Sicily, and from Sicily, maybe some of them didn't go there, so some of them have to transition probably to Rome, to Torino, to Cassino, and they went to the reception camp in these different places. Why? Because maybe they feel maybe they are going to have maybe more opportunities in these other places. So there were a lot of cases of people moving internally as well as externally. There were some that identified the fact that they had, as soon as they had their documents, they had to leave the country and to other countries. But actually at the same time, they still also had to come back, maybe to renew their documents or something like that. So yeah, so in that sense, there was a huge identification of integration. So with the third one, marriage, of course, 14 out of them identified marriage of some sort and so forth. And you can see they identified integration and assimilation in their experiences with marriage. With the assimilation aspect, I remember a couple of them that I interviewed on marriage, and some of them identified that they had to marry natives in the country, and as a result, just for them to feel accepted, they have to let go of their own experience as Nigerians and their own culture in order to adopt fully into the Italian community. And they also identified the fact that marriage was also beneficial for them, especially people that married natives, and also the advantages that come with marrying natives, maybe documentations and all that. So with the housing as well, and there were, of course, cases of discrimination in regards to housing, not renting accommodation to refugees, so there were cases, so they felt within both separation and marginalization So with education as well, some of them identify the importance of education and how education made an impact in their life. And of course, it fell in between both integration and assimilation. Trauma, of course, some of them identified the trauma and the loss and the traumatic experiences they had as refugees, from Libya to Italy, and also within Italy with the lack of acculturation, which you can see most of them fell in the path of marginalization. Same with employment as well. Some of them have to suffer a lot of discrimination, even in employment, in their arrival in Italy. And moving forward, of course, with stereotype as well, let me try to wrap it up faster. And with social networks as well, and how it has helped them in integrating as well as cultural identity. It also fell in integration and religion. Spiritual support, which I said in the Nigerian community, religion actually plays a very vital role in our adaptation in the society. It's power. So with gender struggles as well, there were a lot that had a lot of gender struggles, and this led to separation and integration in regards to the model. And the in-group and out-group, there were a lot of in-group and out-group cases, and this resulted a lot in the area of separation. Then with remittances, I also knew the fact that some of the refugees they felt burdened to have a job as soon as they go to Italy, so that they can start sending money back home. So there are a lot of obligations on that. So I'll try. So on the interviews with the key players, of course, with the key players as well, it was also male dominated in my interview. It was about 8 men and 2 women, and this they're made up of NGO workers and church leaders. So with the key players, with my interview, I got to understand a lot, and that interview provided more personal understanding of the ways in which non-formal education, including language learning, cultural orientation, mentoring, emotional counseling, and advocacy is the key to assisting Nigerian refugees to start a new life in Italy. So with my data collection, the general awareness and the valid perception of non-formal education is, it was apparent from the interviews with the main stakeholders that they have complex yet misunderstanding of non-formal education for the support of refugees. Yeah, it's like, it was literally true. Some of them were not even aware that they were educators. They just feel like it was very random. So although many supported activities that could be grouped under the concept of non-formal education, yeah, of course, for example, mentoring, language support, counseling, spiritual support, relatively few express a coherent and explicit understanding of non-formal education and a comprehensive pedagogy approach. Yeah, some of them were aware that, okay, what they were offering in regards to service was non-formal education, but some as well were not aware. They felt super random. So this also brings us to the comprehensive understanding of the pedagogy approach of non-formal education. So in regards to the theoretical part of my research, which is the initial chapters, and bringing it here, church, like I mentioned earlier, acts as a hub for Nigerian communities and communities abroad, providing cultural connection, practical help, and emotional support. Faith-based organizations support education, language, welfare, and community empowerment. And I think this, I also highlighted it with some of the 14 successful storylines. They emphasize the fact that with the help that they had the opportunity to receive at the initial stage when they arrived, that helped them balance and give balance in the community. They were also able to give back. And in this sense, the way they position themselves, most of them are in the church, in the faith-based community. This is where they position themselves. Of course, they didn't have the privilege to position themselves within governmental or non-governmental organization. Hence, you find a lot of them in church. I think it is very for some of us that know or don't know, it is very common knowledge that African churches in Italy, they are very, very big on empowerment. You see, they render different help for individuals that are in need, especially refugees and also homeless people. So I think this, I know that this is, given my data, this is very, this has been key for refugees that are coming into Italy. And yes, you could see in this decree, in the Italian decree for immigrants in the year 2018 to 2020, it was the key services like language course, cultural mediation, psychological support have been cut out. So yes, and some of them that, of course, I have to interview from 5 years and above. So, so some of them actually had this experience with regards to some of the language courses and cultural mediation. So I didn't have, I didn't really experience people that didn't have these experiences. They all, yeah, highlighted the fact that minor help was provided in the way for them. So, but this has been cut out anyway. So in my data, in the data that I collected, data insight, I got to understand that non-formal education is diverse yet fragmented, which includes legal literacy. With the key players that were interviewed, this summing up to what they offered. It was legal literacy, counseling, language help, mentorship, and spiritual guidance, and all that. So this was the scope in which they provided the help, given the 10 interviews that I did. So yeah, so this was mainly the help that I was given, and this was because this was the help that was available. So many stakeholders don't identify themselves as move on invisible education. Like I identified, like I said earlier, some of them don't even know that they fall within the scope.
1 minute.
Okay. So with the interpretation as well, non-formal education is vital but under-recognized, lacking shared structure and status as well. So with my field experiences, which is my practical experiences both in Spain and in Czech, I got to realize that some of the experiences I got to understand as a key player as well, some of the experiences that were given to refugees over in this country. You could see with the Spain, it was not three-dimensional approach, more holistic support, and this was very true. It was very inclusive, and it provided different help and accountability, most importantly, in Spain. With the Integral Research Institute as well, not as holistic as Spain, obviously, but it was still within the line of empowerment that was given in Italy, which is what is available. So it is not, so whether it attends to their needs or not, it is what is available, hence this is what we can give. So this was most of the experiences that I got to have in contact with both in Spain and in Czech. I said the one in Czech is so similar to the one in Italy, because the one in Italy as well as Czech, of course, they provide language help and psychological support and all that, but it's based on what's available, it's not based on whether it caters to the needs of the migrants or not. It doesn't really matter. It is more supply driven than need driven. So as well as with the reflection and conclusion, the key findings is not my education is fragmented, and there was the issues of structure, and with the successful factors, trauma sensitive, which is the one I had in the experiences I had in Spain. And yeah, and as well as the core lesson is to incorporate that recommendation to incorporate solidarity, mutual respect, empowerment that are key to successful integration, which I feel is in line with my first-hand experience in Spain. Thank you.
Okay. I hope you can hear us, or
Okay.
Can you hear us?
I can't hear you, Professor.
Yes, as we speak here, can you hear us?
I can't, you are muted.
Okay, you're muted. So from here, now you can hear us, right?
You can hear us, right?
Okay.
Perfect. Is there any question?
So we have a few minutes for question, comments.
Okay.
And,
Comment, suggestion, yes. It's just a small question, and it was, I find very interesting your result, if I understood that, the trauma, or trauma is connected with separation, as in, somehow in your interviews. Can you, presume, explain, or say why there is, because I was thinking that it's much more into the existing culture or finding between the other refugees can have this kind of issues. But how did you find what was, how you explain this phenomenon of the lived trauma during the journey or before or after leads to separation?
I didn't get a lot of that.
so the question is how you, what is the interpretation that links say the category of trauma in the stories with separation in terms of strategy, of Barry's strategies? How would you interpret this?
With trauma, it has a lot with separation. I think with most of the trauma that they had, it was it's more directed towards separation. They were struggling with holding onto their own culture, which is Nigerian culture, and also trying to and they're trying to also avoid the new involvement. Let me give an example. Even with some of the studies that have been done in the past, it has been noticed that Nigerian migrants, when they come to Italy, they don't put themselves, most of them, they don't put themselves in a position to learn. That is why you see a lot of Nigerian migrants, when they come to Italy, they don't even speak Italian, no matter how many years they stay. I think I'm an example. So it is because we struggle a lot to hold on to the old, our own culture, and we don't want to adopt into the new culture, the new language, and all that. As a result, we suffer a lot of trauma, and of course, this trauma is rooted a lot in integration and also discrimination. So as a result, it's a crash. So in this place, one tends to experience trauma. And of course, we can see that even some of the work opportunities, some of the job, most, if not all of the job opportunities, are rooted a lot in learning the language, and not just learning the language, also some specific characteristics as well. So, of course, this has traces in trauma. So, of course, it falls in the area of separation. So, not wanting to adopt the new culture, but holding mainly to your own culture.
Okay. I don't think we get everything, but I think the idea here is that the cultural resources, so they're looking towards their own previous, let's say, cultural resources rather than. Okay, now I have only a comment, and then we have to move to the next presenter. I think that the table that you presented, now linking different strategies with different content, needs to be, I know that you sent me things, but I was here, so I couldn't read. Needs to be explained a lot, also because the idea behind Barry, the classic model, is as if there was a single prevailing strategy, whereas here you seem to show that according to different topics, different strategies are enacted. And I think this is an interesting result, because actually show the multiple identities and the multiple, how different stories activate different strategies. And I think this is really something to be discussed carefully. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Any other questions?
We now move to other, okay, yeah, because you see the microphone, because otherwise we couldn't hear you. So people here are saying hello. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, ciao Gaia anche.
Ciao, Gaia.
Okay, now we switch the presentation. Ciao. And we now move to Tündér, who, present on, if the title is still the same,
Yes.
helping reflection, social context, rethinking the social psychology of helping through the housing crisis. So already from the title you can see that there is something on crisis, but also some more.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, perfect. Just one thing.
Okay, we are only a few minutes late, but
I don't need the presentation. Can I just see my PPT?
Right, you have it right here.
Okay.
okay. Yes.
No, it's not good.
Hi everyone, my name is Tündér Müller.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Speak.
Okay.
Oh.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, I'm from the University of Page. I'm not part of the joint PhD program. I'm the part of the the national Hungarian social psychology program. But I'm really glad that I can present today my new status of my research. I am in my I will begin my third year of my PhD in this semester. Okay, some context. I'm investigating like how we can solve or what kind of ways we can find to solve the housing crisis. I just want to like show some numbers. Like in Hungary, the population is 10 million people, and 2.8 million people, like 30% of them, is having a problem with inadequate housing, like living in housing poverty. We have like Hungarian specificities because we are like a post-socialist country, and the neoliberal transformation gave us that our aids or how our government is thinking about solving or not solving, but do anything with this problem is really like family-based. So they are really supporting middle-class families, and that's really made big differences between people. And globally, 1.6 billion people living in housing poverty, like 1 billion people is living in slums. And why don't I talk about homelessness, which is the main focus most of the times of the housing crisis? My MA thesis was about the social representation of homeless people in street newspapers, like how a minority is representing themselves for the majority. But I feel like the housing poverty term, like lots of people, like more people can fit in it, and we can like build solidarity according to this term, not just like the homeless people. And like who is homeless, it's really hard sometimes to somehow categorize, because in Hungary it's a really big problem. Sometimes people have a home but can't heat it, and during the winter they are dying inside their own home. So I feel like this term fits better to the social psychology's field. Okay, our previous research was according to construction in a special area of Page. We built a hut with students, like with 100 students and teachers for a family. It was for 3 weeks. It was a wood house. And during this practice or this action, we made like a research. We used action research, documentation, observation, and a questionnaire. The questionnaire was about like how the students who were involved in this action see homeless people and all construction. So it was like an associational questionnaire. And what we found, just really briefly, we have really like ambivalent results. Okay, like pros, we build a new home, we build community with the students, and we change representation of homelessness in the students, and we develop skills for them. But we have lots of limitations because it was just an individual project. We can't really do anything with the systematic problem of housing in Hungary. So after this, you can see the home what we built when the family moved in. We have like new issues, new questions. One of them, like what are the main forms of help and discourses that appears in the relation to solve the housing crisis. Another one, like what are the short, medium and long-term advantages and disadvantages of the various type of help for the actors involved. So, okay, it was an individual project, a field project, but we had lots of other kind of questions. Okay, we helped, but it has like downsides and upsides, and we want to investigate it a little bit more. Theoretical framework, how social representation can help us to understand this phenomena, like housing, health and solution, how people are think about this kind of terms, like what is the solution of the housing crisis. And during like what processes and methodological connections are on the social analysis of the representation, like what kind of practices and discourses it appears and how each form. And like housing and social representation has a big history because housing is not just a physical need, but a socially constructed phenomena shaped by meanings, power, relations, and inequalities. Subjects of homelessness is really research, like the representation of homelessness, the representation of homeless people, like how the main media is always excluding them and what kind of identity and stigma they have. But like the social constructivism and housing crisis, we have a contradiction in Hungary too, and I guess in other cities or other countries, like the neoliberal housing policies. Okay, we are not regulating the market, but we are giving aids for special types of rules. And like, of course, housing and homelessness are not objective, but a social concept. And how can development or a city is always a battleground of the meanings, like who can determine the future of a city or what should the development can we do in it. Another theoretical framework what we used is like a social psychology of helping. Now you can see charity, essentialism, repositioning, empowerment, social pedagogy of liberation, liberational psychology. So it's, I will talk a little bit more about this, but there is lots of different kind of individual theory about helping types. And I really like this quote from Nadler and Jeffrey, which they are really like the founders of the social psychology of helping, like helping as a missed blessing. So it's always like a relative amount of support or damage what helping actions can cause. And of course, like having different kind of group identities or group involvement is making a different kind of social representation of help. For example, having different kinds of vulnerability, like it was research, like drug addiction or prostitution or this kind of vulnerabilities, having a different kind of social representation of help. So these people has a different kind of representation. And we have like different kind of theories, which is not like whole helping theories, but I guess it's an add for the helping theories, like social subsistence and how helping activity can be a stigmatizing experience, like and threats to the self-esteem theory, and how this kind of so this theories really highlight how helping can be unsuccessful because of these factors. And we have like organization of or concept, or more full concept of help. Like there are autonomy-oriented help and dependency-oriented help. So, which is, theory is saying that how do we do anything with the status of the helper or the recipients? So, yes, there are another like typology of social support. So they are different. So we can typologize the helping behavior in another way, like emotional support, interventional support, informational support, and appraisal support. So this is what forms of support people can offer to each other. And of course, we have the empowerment theory, which is how people gain control over their lives. There, Zimmerman's is saying 3 different kind of levels: interpersonal, interactional, and behavioral levels. And we can like reconcile different kind of helping theories, like we can see the needs, rights, assets framework, which is from not the social psychology, but from the development studies. You can like reconcile these two, or merge these two theories. But when we read the social psychology of helping, what we found in our field work is we can't really fit in any kind of these theories. Or, of course, there are more theories, but now it's just, I wanted to mention that. But we had the feelings that they are, so we made 3 different categories. One of them is the assistance-centric helping, which is like provide aid just enough to survive. Other, the competence-based help, which we feel that we don't give, don't give a fish, teach to fish, which is a really like competence, skill-based theory or like point of view or helping. And another one, reflective rational helping, which is go beyond this skill transfer, which is really like try to emphasize critical awareness and like how can a people make a community network to maintain the help. If we are seeing these 3 new categories, we can see like charity kind of and assistancerism kind of help is in the first one. Competence-based helping is like empowerment or social work, and reflective relational helping like repositioning, pedagogy for liberation and liberation psychology. But what about like housing? We can like see if we think about the solution of housing or the solution of the housing crisis, like the first one is like a homeless shelter, which is giving aid for 1 night. The second one is like a social housing. Okay, we are giving you a house, but you are staying the same status. And the third one is like, for example, like where SRT can be really helpful, like reconstruct meanings or change of the law. Another example, not housing, like, okay, what can we do with an employee who is burned out? Like, we can send him or her to the psychologist, we can teach them like meditation practice and anger and stress management. Okay, we fix this guy, he can go back to work. But we didn't fix anything with the system, and if I ask you like how many people in this room felt burnout during his life or her life, it would be like a high amount. So another like a reflective relational helping in this time would be like, okay, maybe you can join to the union, maybe you can make activism, maybe you can reframe or change your working system, like your working place. And that's not just so you are not fixing yourself, but you are trying to fix somehow the system or make it more human. And back to our building, like we have for these 3 aspects. For the first aspect, because we fundraised the building materials, we don't have money for this project, so we collect these building materials, we volunteering everybody, but mostly the students, and we made a new temporary residence. This is like the assistanceism level. But on competence-based level, we made skill development for students, and we make development of self-esteem as the recipients of the help and the family. And on the 3rd level, we raise awareness of housing poverty, like what I'm doing right now, this is the part of the projects too. We built community during, according to the students, and we changed the representation of the homelessness in the students. So this is how our helping projects or our community building project can be seen. So helping is a complex action, or it should be a complex action, and we can't put one event in one category, but we really try to respond to a single, different. So one helping event should be in more different aspects of these kind of categories. And okay, we developed a new idea. What can we do with it? How can we found empirically some proof? And yeah, we wanted to make focus groups, like different actors of solving the housing crisis. In Hungary, the three main actors, like the religious organization, mainstream organization, and critical outsider groups. And we wanted to make focus groups, and after make a manual thematic analysis to find a categorized form of help, like try to find what the social representation of help, and we wrote a program to investigate in another way. And what we really wanted to do, to see like the organizational helping methods are shaped by the members. So because we are in our imagination, the members won't be like just one representation of helping everybody. I have 5 minutes, okay. So because we have the feeling that even according to the groups will be some like other ideas of helping. And we wanted to see how they dispute it and how they disagree with each other and how they are constructing one or some representation of helping in these groups. And okay, what it can be like theoretical level, we can make a new framework of social psychology of helping, incorporating social, structural dimension and the role of the representation or social representation theory. And in practical, like we can make recommendations for civil and community actors or actions to how can they focus on more, not just the helper, like, okay, I'm a good people because I'm giving you something, but to the recipients too. And I just want to finish with this quote I really like from Bertolt Brecht, which is not really popular according to the psychologists, but we are social psychologists, so maybe we can handle it. So I guess empathy and the minimalization of human suffer, it's like, it's a must-have, but it's not enough. So we have to see beyond it. Thank you.
Thank you. Comments, suggestion? I have a couple of comments myself. Okay, first, specifically related to housing. If you, I imagine you have encountered housing first approach to homelessness. It's a big project around Europe.
I know it, but we don't have it in Hungary.
Okay, but I wonder how you would position. It's a project for those of you who don't know. Let's say that in order to overcome houselessness, but rather than say supporting homeless people, you have first to leave the house and then let them do what they want. And this would bring some benefit to a number of them. So I was wondering which kind of.
I guess I put it in the second one because okay, they are having a house or a home, they can have a work, okay, maybe they can change class, but the whole system is not.
To another extent, it also changes the system because say we have to rethink our.
Yeah, but it's like I'm giving you a home. It's.
And this goes to the question in terms of methodology. I think that it's really interesting to do this, this categorization. I know a little bit about overhelping because Giovanna was working on this, and she had a very, very micro level of analysis. So I think that in order to, in a certain sense, give more credibility also to your categorization, it would be interesting to see a closer look at the policy, the document, because sometimes doing this categorization from far away, the core of overlapping is precisely that if you look at it from far away, it's a good action, but what is actually doing with the microanalysis is reinforcing prejudice. So I wonder how you can, not suggest, but how to let's say, provide evidence to support your.
Yeah, like it was the weakest part of this presentation because I feel the theoretical part, we can connect other theories with this, we can reconcile it or not, but how can we, so we have these feelings that they are categories, but how can we prove it? And maybe focus groups, but I'm really open to other suggestions too.
Thank you very much. It's also more a real question, but I agree that it would be great also to have a kind of demonstration of categories because it would help us also to understand what is new in data. And I think that probably you will see it in focus groups. What makes the point also very relevant is how these different categories interact with each other. I'm not sure that you can just categorize what they are saying right now, but my feeling is I can imagine that there is also a lot of debate, and it would be interesting to see how the group starts with one type of helping and move to another one, and why in relation to which situation, etc. So, I think this is... Yeah.
That's why I asked you that question when you presented.
So if we don't have any other comment, we can move to the next presentation. Thank you.
Okay, so we have Haoxuan Diao who will present on the Nanjing Massacre.
But the title is changed.
The title has changed, but the topic I hope is that one. Okay, perfect. And I'm also curious to see where we are at.
Not big change after the here change. Okay, great.
Perfect. We just have to make this.
Okay, good morning everyone. I hope my voice is still clear because of some reason. Can you hear me clearly now? Okay, great. Okay. My name is Haoxuan Diao, and I am also the first year PhD student from this joint PhD program. And the project of my PhD program is about collecting memory of Nanjing Massacre in Taiwan. And today I'm going to present my initial literary review of the memory carriers about this. And many thanks to my supervisor, although she's not here today, and also Professor Mauro Sarrica. So here, let's begin with the historical background. In case some of you are not familiar with this historical event, Nanjing Massacre happened since 1937, December the 13th. It lasted about 6 weeks. During then, Japanese armies cruelly killed over 300,000 people, including citizens and the soldiers who already surrendered, and which is a very serious crime during the wartime. And why I chose Taiwan as the object, because of its unique geopolitical position. Another historical background. Taiwan was colonized by Japan from 1895 to 1945. That's, you can see, so Nanjing Massacre happened during Japanese colonization. And afterwards, World War II ended, then Taiwan came back to the whole of China temporarily. Then the Chinese Civil War broke out between two parties, the Kuomintang KMT and the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, and the war ended, the Civil War ended, and then the KMT, they lost, they retreated to Taiwan, make Taiwan separately from mainland China. So the question is that Taiwan's position can be several. First, they can be the victims as along with mainland China to the Nanjing Massacre. Second, they can be the perpetrators as Japanese because they were under their colonization. Third, they can be indifferent because none of Taiwanese suffered during Nanjing Massacre, and now they identify themselves as independent a nation, so they think that's nothing to do with it. So that's why I am curious about how Taiwanese people would think about this event. Here is the theoretical framework, but not about my literary review. Actually, I think it is through whole my program. First is the collective memory. As the theory points out, that memory is actually not the stable historical fact, but it is a social act. It can be shaped by institutions, by media coverage and education system, something like that, which will be discussed later. And second is a cultural trauma theory that sorry. Some mass sufferings framed as a collective want to help the editors, the politicians, or the upper class. They want to put the want and then use it as a tool to improve people's sense of identity. And third is the social representation theory, of course. Thank you so much. And this is also not only the cognitive and emotional process, which we also learned from yesterday's speech, and it also involves different groups, like different people with different parties, people who have different backgrounds, because some of them, they are immigrants from mainland China, and some of them, they are Taiwanese, local Taiwanese. Some of them come from the mixed family. They all might have the different attitudes to this event. But now, back to the literary review today. About the review, the purpose is as follows. I would like to explore how the Nanjing Massacre is remembered in Taiwan according to the existing literatures, focusing how the social and political forces shapes the collective memory. Here are two research questions. First, what representations of Nanjing Massacre have previous studies identified, and through which mediums are they transmitted? Question 2. Have studies found difference in narratives across different media types, historical periods, and geopolitical context? And here is the methodology I used in my review so far, but it is still need to be found. And the platforms that I search are these, and because I come from China, I can both read traditional Chinese and simplified ones, so I can compare how the Taiwanese scholars and mainland Chinese people scholars' opinions. And here are the keywords I put in the box. Like Nanjing Massacre, Taiwan, memory, trauma, identity, media. But I would like to clarify that to make distinctions from like textbook or media, these are official or institutional content that has been released. But like films or books or even novels, I would like to clarify them as cultural products, which is slightly different. So that's why I did not put it in the keyword at first, but I will add them afterwards. Yeah. So here are the initial findings. I categorize them into 5 different types: legacy media, digital media, textbook, cultural productions, and public monuments. So first is legacy media. According to the existing literature, here is the timeline. It changes. So from the pre to the 1987, there was also martial law area in Taiwan, so not just only in mainland China, which is the stereotype. There's almost nothing about Nanjing Massacre during that time. When they mentioned this event, it's just the strategy to emphasize the ROC, Republic of China, strength, and their national unity. Yeah, but things have changed since 1978. This event has been gradually reimaged, but it is not growing like the way mainland China did. It's just to make very neutral framing and along with global discourse, like they will describe it in a just describe a crime during wartime, but they don't feel like, oh, that's our people suffering, or that our people did the bad things. Also, there is a comparison between the outlets of Taiwanese parties, let's say. So Pan Blue, which means the KMT, they still insist on the One China policy, but the China, they think that should be the ROC, that which was established since 1912, the old one, and the Pan Green, they insist that Taiwan is an independent nation, and obviously the newspaper belong to these 2 different parties. They have almost opposite attitudes to Nanjing Massacre. And also, there are some literatures analyze that there are many literatures analyze how mainland China media make the collective memory about this thing, but they rarely mentioned Taiwan's attitude. And since we are in the digital time, so digital media is a very important platform that we should put attention to. But unfortunately, there's a blank spot in Taiwan's digital memory space. I searched like on Facebook or Instagram. When I tried to search with traditional Chinese, these words in the box, almost nothing happened. But if you put it in the simplified Chinese way, to appeared a lot. That make a very strong comparison between. And so here is, but also some literatures shows that Taiwan people, they do have their digital memory space, but for other events, like the 228 incident, which happened during a white horror time when they were under control of the community's very strict control, and many Taiwanese people died at that time. They have a page to memorize this event and these victims, but no similar thing for Nanjing massacre. So I think the silence, not me. Sorry, I mixed the findings and the comments together. I should delete this, sorry. And the next is about the textbook, which is similar as the newspaper. It also has the martial law area from the pre to the 1987s, almost, but slightly different because in textbooks, they want to let the students know that the legitimatized of the right of the ROC because they were the power to beat the Japanese army. They want to use this thing to show their military victory and their national unity. And afterwards, it's the reform time. That's the time that they successfully transformed the people's identity from one China to the independent Taiwan. So they shifted it into with a global human rights framework. But things changed recently. From 2019, they did another change for the historical textbooks. Oh, if I was not clear enough, at the first time and the second time, the textbooks, they don't have, schools don't have the freedom to make their own historical books or made by the institutions, or not by the government, kind of, let's say. But during the latest time, schools can make their textbooks own, and they can choose which version they like, they prefer. So, but which might make the difference to different schools. And also another cross-regional comparison. First, mainland China, as like I learned from a child, always a full chapter of this vision, of this event. And for Hong Kong and Macau, that also need to be mentioned because their situation is kind of similar but not the same, because they all suffered the colonize from other countries, but Hong Kong and Macau officially came back to China, and we want to call them as nations anymore, but Taiwan is not the same situation. And because of that, they have different words, they have different versions of textbooks. First, Hong Kong and Macau, they all have their freedom. Their textbooks are not the same from the mainland China, but they also show different attitudes because Macau is related closely to mainland China. So in their textbooks, it's more like mainland China. But Hong Kong did it more like Taiwan, more neutral, not that emotional. Then we go to the cultural production. Because this year is the 80th anniversary of World War II victory, and I think some of you might know the other day there was a Prada in Beijing to celebrate this thing. Also, accordingly, there are a series of films this year about the war Japan did to China, like Nanjing Massacre and 731. Their army, they did a human experiment in China too. So maybe you can have a look afterwards. This. Back to the presentation, there are limited local output from Taiwan compared to mainland China. And to see the international influencer, Iris Chan, who was a Chinese American. Her parents immigrated to America, and then she was born and raised in America. But when she grew up, she wrote a book of the rape of Nanjing. Many of people, especially the West, know the event, and this book makes its influence in Taiwan, which also changed a little bit the opinions of Taiwanese opinions to this event. The last one is the public monument. Oh, sorry. In a word, there is almost no public monument in Taiwan about Nanjing Massacre. There used to be one in the former military historical museum in Taipei. There was a small display related, but unfortunately it was removed. And not the small corner, but the whole museum was removed. So there was no monument anymore. And yeah, here is the research gap that I found from the existing literature. That first, it's a digital platform. There lack of data from Taiwanese specific forums. And second, it's the generation socialization. Because as we can see, there are changes from time to time. From different historical periods, but now the what? Oh, sorry, it's just the Zoom out of time.
Okay, no problem. You can keep going.
Okay, sorry.
This one.
Thank you. Where was I? The general generational socialization. Because as we all know that the collective memory is a process, and yes, so I think it is important to know the difference between generations, how they think, how their memory was shaped, and their difference between. The third is the regional positionality, because Taiwan is really analyzed as an independent actor relating to the Nanjing Massacre or the whole World War II. And I think it's just limited the understanding of the memory limitary. So here comes the future research plan. I try to fill this research gap. So for the first, the digital lack of data, I'm going to use the online ethnography, like Alessandro would do also. And the second one, to solve the generational socialization, I would do the survey research and also the semi-structured interviews to compare between different groups of people. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you for saying perfectly.
something
clear.
Thank you for your very interesting presentation. I think there is it's not a cultural distance that is normal for us who know historical events in France or I think I suggest you to add one or two slides to present this historical event, this conflict in more detail to better understand the rest of the research. Because for us it's not so easy, for me, it's not so easy to understand what kind of conflict and different position, different meaning is in stake. And usually in some places you take for granted, not only historical events, but for example, textbook. What do you mean? in the speech you talk about the historical textbook, but maybe you can write in the slide so it's so more easy to understand what you mean.
Okay, thank you. But I just kind of run out of time. Otherwise, I could maybe yes, but I did not put enough slides to introduce more of my research. But I think we can maybe from the last one we can know that in the future I would like to know that. Yeah, I should put it, but like for the different groups from different ages, I'm going to compare 3 groups: the youth, the middle age, and the elderly for the survey, and also the semi-structured interviews. And they are just the age group, and I would like to compare different family backgrounds because of their some. As I said before, some of them they are local Taiwanese whose elderly family member might under through the Japanese colonization, and some of them they are the mainland migrants. They have more connected relationship to mainland China, so maybe they think differently about the Japanese or the Nanjing massacre. And more common, there are many families they mix together, and their opinions of this kind of sensitive political issues might be different. Yeah.
This element must be clarified, let's say, to the audience, to
Oh,
us and to the audience.
Sorry.
It's another question.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, in my mind, it came to my mind, that it's not just only about the massacre that we are talking, but about the whole historical trajectory that's probably very different between different groups, So in your first slide, you said, this is what happened. I'm not sure that your groups will make the same historical trajectory or explaining in the same way what has happened. And this is why the massacre itself appears or disappears or becomes part of the story of another one. I think for me, I think it's very important to ask for the historical trajectory.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now that you're talking about this, there is a concept that Nanjing uses, constitutive events. I say it loud so that we can remember each other. If this is considered a constitutive event or not, this could be also an object of study. And also in terms of clarification, something we were talking before. It is important to clarify that you have done so far a review of the 6th great literature to see which kind of media have been analyzed and which kind of result. So as if this is the row in the ideal table, and in the column is what is out there. So you saw that no one has analyzed online media, so it would make sense to see what are online. So we need to clarify this better. Again, say aloud also for myself, and I think we are almost there. Anna.
So I am wondering, since this is a historical event happened a long time ago, does it have any political actuality right now? So I'm thinking maybe you have a reason why you choose to investigate it just right now. So is there an ongoing discourse around this right now, or do you have any goals, aims with articulating this problem?
Yeah, thank you for your asking. First, as I mentioned before, this year is the 80th anniversary of the World War II. So this year, I believe that other countries in Europe this year, maybe earlier, they also have the celebratory activities about the World War II. So I think this issue happened during World War II can be also paid attention to. That's the first reason. Second, according to the international situation, maybe you are not that interested. No, what the but let's put it. The relationship between mainland China, Taiwan now is going to a little bit intense right now, especially.
You are not recording.
Then make it maybe a sensitive topic we should maybe focus on. Yeah, we don't know what will happen.
But we are not writing two versions of this, one in Chinese and one in Okay, we have to write them.
Okay.
We are trying to treat this.
Yeah, sure.
It's also important to consider this actually nowadays to be honest. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now it's almost time for lunch, but since after lunch we might be a bit late, I would like to invite André, Thibault, and Boumet here. Sorry, I couldn't bring something more